Okay, Catherine, this is the second part. Uh, and we left last time talking about the five psychosexual stages of Freud. We left at two, which is the anal stage, the phallic stage, which caused the most problems. Um, and that is the child's interest in his genitals, seeks pleasure by playing with themselves. Um, and Freud said to either let them play with themselves because it's a fad and they get over it, or you tie their hands to the crib, whatever that be. If you play with yourself too much, you tend to be vain, self-loving, like to show off. If you are restricted from doing that, you tend to be anxious, difficult to commit. Again, I'm just giving you examples. During the phallic stage, the identification stage, which is very, very important, males identify with fathers, females identify with mothers. You had the Electra and Oedipal complex, and this got Freud in a lot of trouble because people cannot accept them. This is totally in the unconscious. They're not walking around conscious thinking about these things. Um, but for uh, the male has a sexual desire for its mother, and Freud had a very strong connection with his mother. Um, and the male thinks if dad finds out, he's going to be very upset and castrate him. For males, that's scary. So if you can't beat him, you join him. So you identify with the father. The electric complex is just the opposite. It's the female has the sexual desires for dad. This gets a little hairy. Then the fact is that the female realizes she doesn't have a penis. Um, she thinks that God took the penis away because of these terrible thoughts, totally in the unconscious, and that for the rest of her life, then she's trying to get that penis back. That's why she has sex. And people go, "This is ridiculous." But anyway, it does. We do know this is take that out. We do know this is a period of identification, and it's very important in the development of children. Um, and and of course, Freud's idea of homosexuality is that you identified with males, identify with moms, and females identify with dads, and that's what uh, gets them messed up. But um, you know, it is a period of identification, and we do have behavioral data backing up. Yeah, males are doing what dads do, and little daughters doing what mom does. Then we have the latency stage, which is 6 to 10, and you can know the exact order. You don't have to know the time thing here. And the latency stage, latency means asleep, and according to Freud, sexual desires go to sleep. And so, they're never in the middle school, but anyway, um, uh, you have to fill this void. So through education, curiosity, sports, you develop intellectual interest. Um, but if it doesn't go to sleep, um, uh, you may have an overly seductive female or a person who's dependent on friends or a tomboy. Um, and for males, male that's just still very sex conscious. Um, and if you have a love of learning, obviously the latency stage went fairly well. The genital stage is where 12 to forever, and that's when you turn towards your partner to attain sexual satisfaction. It's not sex is done not just for itself. Um, you resolve sexual behavior in socially acceptable ways. If you can't, you can be frigid, both male and female. For male, you could just the opposite. You get in pornography and sex thing. For a female, and then it's a chase is most important. For the female, rigid or just the opposite, a nympho. Um, but according to Freud, you substitute true love for sexual satisfaction, meaning resolve sexual issues. Well, he didn't define what true love is, but anyway. Okay, the last thing is defense mechanisms, and I think I gave you a handout of the 8. These are probably the most accepted of all Freud's theories. They reduce anxiety, so they're actually not a negative unless you use them too much. And I'll go through them very, very quickly. Well, I'm going through everything very quickly. Repression is forced forgetting. That's what you don't like. You don't want to think about something bad that happened, or you don't want to. You forget about going to class because you don't like it, or you forget about the dentist's office because you don't like it. Things of that nature. Denial is complete denial of the situation. So, say that you were unfortunately sexually assaulted. You don't want to remember any part of that, but you accept the fact that you were. Denial says, "Oh, it never happened." You just throw it out. Projection is when you project your ideas on somebody else. So if I say, "Oh, Catherine, you're always so stubborn," I'm the one that's stubborn, and I'm projecting my feelings onto you. Reaction formation, you think just the opposite. So, you hate your sweet mate's boyfriend, but you shower him with love and affection, and just because you have just the opposite. You have people ministers who rail against short skirts and stuff like that, but when they see a girl with short skirts, they're always looking. So that would be reaction formation. Regression is you go back to an earlier time, usually childhood when it was safer, and you're sick, you get in the fetal position. Rationalization is the most common used one, where you make up an excuse for something. You didn't do well on my test, so that darn Julian asked the most difficult questions, whereas you just didn't study. But who wants to blame ourselves? We always want to blame somebody else. Solumination is where you have something sexual frustration, but you can't take it out. You can't act on that, so you take up something socially acceptable. You like looking at naked women, so you become a photographer. For a girl magazine, whatever, like Playboy or something. I don't think they do Playboy anymore. But anyway, or you're really angry, so you get on the football team so you can hit people. And then displacement is where you take it out. You can't take it out on who's mad at you. So, it's like a baseball player gets mad and breaks his bat, like the bat's the one that struck out. Or he smashes a cooler, or you kick your bicycle if you fell over, or if you're having a fight with your roommate, you can't argue with her, so you take it out on your best friend. So those are the 8 main defense mechanisms. You've had these before too, but on the test I'm going to have 8 for examples you have to match. And the last 2 things is the importance of resistance to Freud. The more the client resists, the closer you are to the problem, to that personality issue. So if I said to you, "Let's talk about your brother," "Yeah, fine, I like my brother, blah, blah. Let's talk about your sister." "No, I don't like her." Obviously, resistance to the problems with your sister. And the other is transference. This is a problem because we transfer our feelings of one person to somebody else. And this sometimes happens in therapy because you love A, and then you decide that the therapist is you love, or you hate the therapist. You hate A and you hate the therapist. That's one of the big problems of counseling. But that's the whole chapter 2 in a nutshell. Hope you enjoy it.